The GOAT, the king of New Orleans, some say. Mike Triplett. No, I'm just kidding. Drew Brees talks ahead of the Super Bowl. This is during Media Week. Super Bowl LIX, Super Bowl Licks, as some would say, is about to pop off. And this week has been absolutely insane in New Orleans. So Mike Triplett, New Orleans.football, he got a little bit of time here with Drew Brees. So we're going to listen in, see what they talk about, and react along the way.
I asked Marcus Colston this the other day. It's Friday, it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Did you know you were going to win the Super Bowl Friday at 2 o'clock?
I mean, there was definitely a belief, or a hope, you know?
Look at Mike. I mean, he was a kid in a candy store. Look at the smile. I mean, this is happiness. This is what it's all about right here, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is as happy as a human being can be right here. Look at them looking at each other. I mean, look, this is a beautiful moment. I mean, we're getting a first-hand look at a beautiful moment here between Drew and Mike. I mean, eye connection, contact. I mean, staring while walking, very difficult to do. But as far as the question, I would assume, I mean, the Saints were dogs, big dogs. I think they were like a 6-point dog in that game. So, yeah, I think there is that belief, like, hey, we could win this. We're in the Super Bowl. We're good enough to win this, whatever. But to believe you're going to win on Fridays, I doubt that's when they thought they were going to win. I would hope that wasn't the case. I mean, they're not even fully done prepping at that point. But
you know, but also just I think this is when you really start to get locked in, you know, because you start to recognize the craziness around town, you know.
I'll tell you, just from living in New Orleans and walking around, like, so the NFL honors were Thursday night. That kind of shut down downtown. And, you know, they literally shut down roads to build the stage and build the red carpet and build all this stuff. So I've had to walk everywhere to do anything down here in the quarter. And it's insane. Like I've been here for 4 Mardi Gras now. This is crazier than Mardi Gras. Just the sheer amount of people, the sheer amount of companies and products and everything is just at such an insane scale. There are, like, I was walking by the JW Marriott, which is down further. I was on the CBD side, and there was, like, a horde of people, just scalpers, like, trying to get autographs, trying to get whatever. Security's out there. It's like the middle of the day. Champ Bailey, former Denver Bronco, Champ Bailey is out there, like, just hanging out, signing stuff, walking around. He's got a drink in his hand. You go down the street a little further, you run into, like, the ESPN stage. You go down the street a little further, Barstool's doing something, or this restaurant is roped off because it's a TV studio. Oh, Taylor Swift's having dinner over here uptown. Like, just what's happening in this city right now, and it has been happening for 2 weeks now, is insane. And so I can't even imagine as a player, because as a player, you have access to everything. You're being shuttled in and out of all these places, but you're also prepping for the game. You also have, like, the most important day of your life. So, I mean, I don't know if you just go into your own place, if you just turn off your phone, if you just stay in your hotel room, like, right now, I'm filming this during the Super Bowl parade. I'm about to leave and go walk down there and just catch some of the parade, but the Super Bowl parade's happening today. Nuts.
And a little bit of the chaos that's going to ensue. And so, I don't know, you start to go to that quiet place. You know, that place where, you know, you're just going to hunker down and focus and get ready for the game.
That kind of answers the question.
Here and nostalgia's hitting you, what's the first thing you think of from that week?
Just what an amazing week it was. I mean, I felt like we were able to really stay in the moment. Had an unbelievable time early in the week with our team as we just got together for like our typical O-line dinner, team dinner, kind of turned into an offensive dinner. So we had a great time there. Remember practicing at the University of Miami, and just, I don't know, everything just seemed to be smooth, you know?
That's usually a good sign. When things in a very chaotic atmosphere, things are smooth. But it's crazy because Drew is getting nostalgia both ways. He's getting double nostalgia. He's getting the nostalgia of just being in New Orleans, you know, a big moment in New Orleans. For 15 years, he was the big moment in New Orleans. But he's also probably getting nostalgia of the Super Bowl week, which he experienced in Miami. So this, he has a very unique, he has a sense of this unlike anybody else on earth. Of he's done the Super Bowl week successfully, and he also existed in the city very successfully for almost 2 decades. So It's got to be a wild thing for Drew to be a part of.
And maybe that was just because Sean Payton created the vision for what the week was going to be like, and everything just kind of worked out that way.
You know how I always talk about how important it is for coaches to do things that you don't think about? Like, Sean Payton's an offensive guy, right? Like, Sean Payton is, okay, design the offense, call plays, whatever. But arguably, the most important thing he did for this whole thing wasn't the play design, wasn't all that. It wasn't the onside kick. It was have the vision for how the week would go. The logistics side of being a head coach cannot be understated. That's why when people are like, oh no, Joe Brady should be the head coach. It's like, well, first of all, we got to know. Like, we got to wait for interviews. We got to do all this to see how these guys would do that. How would they handle those situations? How would they handle, logistics and travel and practice and all of that? That is what makes a head coach. That is why coaches like John Harbaugh succeed. It's not because John Harbaugh's calling good plays. He doesn't call plays on either side of the ball. He doesn't design the offense or the defense. But it's because John Harbaugh has created a vision and identity, an infrastructure, an operational infrastructure within the team. That is what Dennis Allen failed at as a Saints coach. No one's doubting how good he was as a defensive coach. No one is doubting that the Saints defense got worse when Dennis Allen left. No doubt. But that is not what a head coach is. A head coach is so much more. You do have to be a master of something, but you also have to be really good at the locker room, the practice, the logistics, and Allen failed at all of the operational stuff. And Peyton was very successful at that, which is why Peyton is turning around Denver.
Maybe it just kind of helps us set an expectation and meet the expectation. But, everything just seemed to be smooth.
Just real quick, do you have any thoughts on Kellen Moore? Have you seen enough of him to have, if he becomes the guy?
Interesting, because Brees went on record and publicly recommended Aaron Glenn. So he's already kind of thrown his guy out there, which was Aaron Glenn. And now that it's not Aaron Glenn, and it could be Kellen Moore, be interested to see this answer. So
I haven't, other than what I've never met him before.
Yeah.
Other than just and all I have to go off of is just his track record. And every he's been successful wherever he's gone. He's obviously an extremely bright offensive mind. I mean, coaching the Super Bowl here, right? He's done a great job with that Philly offense. So I think he's got a lot of great pieces to work with the Saints, if that is the case.
Yeah.
I think we saw what the Saints offense can be when everyone's healthy. Early in the year, unfortunately, they were just decimated by injury. I still think we have a very stout defense. It's been a top 10 defense for the last 8 years in a row or so. So I think all the pieces in place.
Defense was absolutely horrific last year, by the way. I mean, they were rock bottom. They were the worst defense in the NFL as far as I'm concerned last year.
Same year had through free agency in the draft. But look, and the division's wide open. That's the bottom line, too.
True.
As you look at the division, like, who really scares you? Yes, Carolina, ascending team with Bryce Young. Yes, Atlanta, ascending team with Michael Penix. Tampa's kind of, been the one who's had kind of a stronghold on it the last few years. But, I think they're aging. And so bottom line is, man, the opportunity's there.
So interesting at the end there, because I know, and I had this question asked to me yesterday on Radio Row, but it's like the Saints had a bad year last year. No doubt. But the problem was more the defense than the offense. The defense was atrocious. The defense was giving up 7 yards per rush for fun, okay? It's not crazy. I know we keep talking about, like, all right, release Carr, do this, restructure this, go with Rattler, tank this year, whatever. It's not crazy to see a vision where Kellen Moore comes in and he says, you know what? I kind of want to have a good offense. I kind of want to come in with some veterans, and I kind of want to come in with players that are ready to roll. I think we have pieces here that, if everyone's healthy, can be a serviceable, above-average offense. That's not insane. It's not insane to see a world where Kellen Moore would want Derek Carr as his quarterback, Alvin Kamara as his running back, Chris Olave as his wide receiver 1. I mean, like, imagine we draft Ted McMillan at 9. If you go into the season with Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, McMillan, Olave, Shaheed is your 3, Foster is your tight end, and you rework the offensive line, or you maybe you draft some or whatever, and everyone's healthy. I know Taysom won't be healthy to start the year, but if everyone's healthy, that is not a bad place to start. And then you can start trimming some of that salary cap, or trimming some of the stuff that we were talking about with some of the aging players on defense. And that's really the side of the ball that has to get better quick. I mean, we don't have a DC. Like, we'll know all that once once Kellen Moore gets involved. But I'm not gonna lie, I was so in the realm of we'll just restructure, cut, not tank, but come into it with a weaker roster and then try and rebuild to the draft. I really didn't even think about the possibility of seeing things from an outside perspective of Kellen Moore, seeing things from just a roster sense. Like, he's not seeing things through 5 games. He's not seeing things the same way we did, who experienced all those games, experienced all those plays, experienced the losses. He's seeing things from just a depth chart, just like names on a roster. So if you look at it that way, it's not insane to look at that roster and be like, there's pieces here. There's stuff I can work with. There's okay. Like, going into this with just like Tet and Olave as your 1 and 2, that's pretty gnarly. Right? Going into this with Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, those 2 guys, like Sheed at the 3rd wide receiver, and MVS is full at the 4th wide receiver. All that's a very different picture than Spencer Rattler, Bub Means, Mason Tipton, Dante Pettis, whoever else. All of a sudden now you're looking around like, damn, maybe Kellen is seeing this as not a work in progress offensively, but this is good. Like, this is something I can work with and succeed with immediately. Now, defensively, like I said, you got to get better quick, but something to think about. And Drew kind of mentioned it there, where the pieces are kind of there. So, and I'm not saying win a Super Bowl or anything, but I think the notion that Kellen's going to come in immediately struggle, there is another avenue where he may come in and say, "This I can absolutely make a good offense out of this." So we'll see, but we'll know. If Kellen Moore is hired as the head coach, in his first couple of press conferences, he'll probably mention some of that vision, some of those plans, and we'll be able to glean a little bit more. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. Good stuff from New Orleans Football. They had an absolute ton of coverage with players. They might have interviewed every single Saints player on the roster. So if you're interested in that, please go to their channel, support all that stuff. Go to their website. And, I'll let you know, or let me know what you think about Drew and what he said about all this. And I'll see you in the next video.